This week in games, PlayStation president says Bungie could be doing things better. PlayStation VR 2 is coming to PC. Switch 2 is being targeted for March of next year. And our review of Persona 3 Reload. This is the Two Penny Gamescast. What's poppin', players? Welcome back to the Two Penny Gamescast, episode 188. I'm your host, Tavin Bothel, here with my good friend and co-host. Say hello to the people, Connor Elliott.
Jolly good cheers.
Connor, how's your week been?
It's been busy gaming with Persona 3.
Yeah.
I've been grinding.
Hey.
And not even the bad kind.
Not in the bad kind. Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? It's finally time. We have our review for Persona 3 Reload coming at the end of this episode after the news segment, of course. So make sure you stick around for that. Or if you just want to jump straight to it, timestamps are in the description down below. Or there's a breakout video over at youtube.com/@2pennygames. If you want to just go ahead, give that a click, watch that. That'd be a blast too. You know, I'm very excited to hear your thoughts and opinions on this, Connor. You are our lead reviewer for it, and I'm very excited to get to that. But first, of course, ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't know, this is the Two Penny Gamescast. Each week, me and Connor, we sit down and talk to you about the new news you need to know concerning the video game industry. We each come to you with two topics, two pennies, if you will, and we give you our 2 cents on them. Connor, let's have a little conversation real quick.
Okay.
Some news before the news, some spare change, if you will. A segment that I did once and never did it again, along with some other segments that I should be keeping up with it if I was good at my job, but I'm not. I'm going to get better, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to get better. Anyways, Connor, let's talk about that Nintendo Direct that happened this last week real quick, because it was quite exciting for one or two reasons. In fact, 2 reasons. That comes in one package, releasing on March 15th, 2024. That's right, Connor's Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection is coming to modern consoles and PC, and working multiplayer. Up to 64 players. Are you fucking kidding me? All exclusive content to specific platforms is going to be in the game, so you're getting Kit Fisto, you're getting different maps. It's all this awesome shit. Can't fucking wait. Can't wait for one, it's been a long time since I've gone back and revisited the original Battlefront, the first one. So I'm excited to hear there's the iconic and when you load it into the maps and so forth, I'm very excited to hear that sound again.
It's a very specific thing.
I know, man. It meant a lot to me as a child.
And you know, the Battlefront 2 is the better one.
Yes.
But Battlefront 1 has a lot of just
nostalgia.
Not only just nostalgia, but also just it plays a certain way.
Yeah.
Like, for example, in Battlefront 2, playing as heroes becomes a big element of it. Yeah. I'm actually very excited to go and do that, find out Mos Eisley as whoever you decide to play as against random people. But in the first game, I think the Jedi system was that it was like one person could become it, or it was like CPU.
It's just CPUs?
Yeah, and they would fuck you up. Entire hallways of people shooting at this guy, nothing.
Couldn't kill them.
No.
They were just bosses that just walked around and wiped the floor with everything. Now, I'm sure we're going to load it up and it's going to be like, all right, this CPU's an idiot. Like, I've been shooting at him for an hour and he doesn't know where the fuck I am. But it's exciting stuff. I'm very, very excited. I mean, you could get lucky and like blast them off the map if it was like
rocket launcher,
Bespin or anything like that, or just an area with an area where you could fall off the map. You could blast them off and so forth. So I'm very, very excited.
You can also kill them with vehicles.
You could run them over. That's right. Yeah, and they'd eventually die, which was weird. But yeah, oh God, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I'm so fucking excited to revisit some maps that I haven't seen in probably a decade, and of course to jump into Battlefront 2, play that campaign again, get some trophies. Hopefully there's a good trophy list on there. Play multiplayer. I've already hit up some old friends of mine from childhood, and we've been like, hey man, we gotta link up, we gotta do it. You know, we gotta play a couple of rounds, and it's gonna be a good time. I'm very excited.
Baby again, huh?
Huh?
You're gonna be a baby again.
A baby?
A little baby. Playing video games on the weekends, on the weekdays, being a little baby.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is, of course, the Two Penny Gamescast. You can find us every Tuesday, 8 a.m. Central Time, youtube.com/@2pennygames, and mainstream podcast services of your choice. We are on the Spotify, the Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, all of the above. Search up Two Penny Games or Two Penny Gamescast, and you will find us there. Of course, as we talked about, Persona 3 Reload review happening today. Very exciting stuff. But in case you've missed it, it's been a very hectic video game release season. We have lots of reviews out right now, including Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth on the channel, Helldivers 2 on the channel. I'm missing one. What's the one I'm missing? One you did? No, you're starting. Maybe that's it.
That was it. Yeah,
that's it. Final Fantasy VII, the original. If you're excited for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth coming out, we reviewed the original game just a few weeks ago, and we will shortly be reviewing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. But next week, we are going back into the annals of history, and let me tell you what. We're taking a bunch of farts. Mm-hmm. We're just doing a bunch of farting and burping and laughing, and we're gonna review Fable, the first one, Anniversary Edition, of course, on Steam because it was the one that's available to us. And come join us next week for that one. I'm sure it's gonna be quite the time. Connor, how's your Fable journey going?
I haven't started it yet.
Oh shit!
And it's such a big deal because I don't want to play it while Rebirth is out, but I might have to. These next 2 days are going to be me in that room playing that goddamn game.
Playing some Fable.
and the worst thing is well, actually,
and I'll be pretty much right there alongside you.
Yeah. I have some good news.
Yeah.
My schedule changed. Specifically to where I have Thursdays off so I can play it that whole day after it comes out.
Final Fantasy.
Yeah. So
excellent. You know what? I gave up my shift. I will also be in my room playing Final Fantasy. That'll be exciting. We'll be. Hey, what part are you at? This part. Oh, okay, great. No, I'm still fucking around. I'm still fucking around in the open world. Okay, awesome. I haven't even made it to Fort Junon yet. This is exciting.
I'm excited for that game, huh?
Friend of the show and host of the Piggy Bank, Phil, is in our chat laughing at me saying anal. We're nothing but mature over here over at Two Penny Games, and of course. You would know that if you would watch us live every Monday, about 6-ish, 6:30-ish, sometime around there, whenever I can get off and get home, fast enough from school. Twitch.tv/2pennygames. I'm also trying my best. I didn't do it this week. I failed. I'm trying my best to bring a weekly stream back with video games and playing video games. I'm trying it for Thursday. I think I'm going to do it for maybe some Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, but I also kind of don't want to do that to that game. I kind of want to just enjoy it at my own pace, so I don't know. I'm trying to be better, but we'll see if I actually do end up being better. Who knows? Connor, it's time for us to get right into it, my good friend. Let's start off with our first penny of the day, our first topic of the day, my first penny. This is, of course, Sony president wants Bungie to be better at assuming accountability for development timelines. This is from VGC, Chris Scullion. Sony president and PlayStation chairman Hiroki Totoki has said Bungie could be better at assuming responsibility for its development timelines. During a Q&A session following Sony's latest financial results briefing, Totoki was asked for an update on Bungie and whether he had any initiatives planned for the studio in the next financial year. Totoki replied that while he was impressed by Bungie's ability as a video game developer, he felt it could make improvements from a business perspective. Quote, I visited the Bungie studios and had meetings with the management, he said. Quote, and I saw that employees working at the studio were highly motivated, showing great creativity as well as an impressive knowledge of live services. However, I also felt that there was room for improvement from a business perspective with regard to areas such as the use of business expenses and assuming accountability for development timelines. I hope to continue the dialogue and come up with some good solutions. When Totoki originally answered this question last week, the live translation provided by Sony referred to PlayStation Studios in general. However, Sony has now released a new official translation, which it says, quote, is intended to replace the simultaneous translation of the question and answer session previously provided. And this new translation refers to Bungie specifically. It was reported in December that Bungie's position as an independent subsidiary of Sony Interactive Entertainment is under threat. When PlayStation Maker announced its intention to acquire the Destiny studio in 2022, it said Bungie would continue to operate independently, maintaining the ability to self-publish and reach players wherever they choose to play. However, an IGN report stated that a company's board structure is contingent on Bungie hitting certain financial goals, and if it fails to do so, Sony can reportedly choose to dissolve the existing board and assume full control of the company. Last October, Bungie staff were reportedly warned that revenue was running at around 45% below projections for the year, which was said to have been attributed to poor player retention for Destiny 2. Struggling to meet its targets and with the threat of a potential Sony takeover incoming, Bungie's leadership reportedly embarked on a wide-ranging cost-cutting plan that saw 100 of the studio's 1,200 employees laid off. Bungie officially delayed upcoming Destiny 2 expansion The Final Shape in November. Originally given a February 27th, 2024 release date, The Final Shape will now launch on June 4th. Totoki assumed the role of chairman of SIE last October ahead of CEO Jim Ryan's retirement and will act as interim CEO from April 1st. So he will be taking a more hands-on approach with the company's games division. Yikes!
Yeah, that's bad news for that board.
Yikes! It's complicated, it's difficult, and it's frustrating. Now, let's handle this in a couple of different ways. First of all, Bungie continuing to publish games on other platforms. I think after the success of Helldivers 2, it is foolish of PlayStation, foolish of Sony, to then restrict Bungie's live service games, whether it be Destiny 2 content, a Destiny 3, or Marathon, to restrict that to PlayStation 5 only. I think that would be a huge mistake. It should at least have a day-and-date launch with PC after the success we've seen with Helldivers 2. That just makes sense. That's simple. I do think if you are going to publish a live service game at all, it should be on as many platforms as you can possibly put it on, because player base is very, very important to a live service game. Without the player base, without a player base that's willing to spend money, you are not going to have a successful live service game. So Sony, let's not be silly, and let's keep that part of Bungie operating, even if they do choose to dissolve the board and take over Bungie entirely. Next, let's talk. Well, let me stop. Let me break your thoughts on that part.
My big takeaway from all of this is Destiny 2 as a title. It's been around for years and years now. When did it first come out? 2017?
Destiny 1 was 2015. 2, I believe, was 2017.
2017, yeah. So it's had a
Destiny
long
1
run.
was 2014, excuse me.
2014? Oh, that makes more sense. It had a long run, but I think we're seeing the timer run out on Destiny 2.
I think the expansion's called The Final Shape, so...
Yeah, it is. And maybe it should have come earlier than this. I mean, they've been going on for a long, long while, and it eventually was going to see a drop-off.
Why stop when you're hot?
Playing it. Well, this is why. Because eventually, if you don't stop soon enough, when you've known you've done all you can with the game and go on to the next project, because you have to remember, a bunch of people work on Destiny 2. And moving that over to another game would speed up and improve the development of that one so they can further down the line have the next big multiplayer game, live service game that they've been feeding this entire, past couple of years.
Yeah.
It's just, this is the, inevitable result when people kind of, okay, well, I'm done with Destiny 2. It's given me all it has to offer, at least in its current form, with its current restrictions. And I'm just...
Well, and also that last expansion they put out, not Lightyear. What was it called? It had the Buzz Lightyear treatment to it.
Not Lightfall.
No. Lightfall? No. Whatever it was. It was coming out the same time as that Lightyear movie that they did, and it had like the same title treatment to it, so it was very confusing. Anyways, that one didn't go over super well with fans.
No,
people weren't very happy with that expansion. And expansions take a long time. It's a huge breadth of content, and when your base isn't happy with it, then it takes a while to right the ship in that sense. So I don't know. I think the future for Destiny is bright. I think after the PlayStation acquisition, a Destiny 3 was gonna happen regardless. I think we're gonna get obviously Marathon before a Destiny 3 ever pops up, if a Destiny 3 ever happens, but I think it will.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, Marathon pops off and becomes the next big thing. Which I'm also inviting that as well as a thing to happen, but we'll see.
To your point, by the way, I'm not saying Destiny as a franchise is done. I'm saying Destiny 2.
Yeah. However, I understand that PlayStation has acquired Bungie. but it's more of like a publishing partner for funding and so forth, but Bungie will still operate, moderately independently unless they fail to hit things, and then Sony gets the power to dissolve the board and take it over, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I don't want that to happen. I like the idea of Bungie keeping their creative freedom and being able to go in the direction that they want to go in, especially because we are seeing this hard turn from PlayStation from single-player narrative-driven games into live service games. And I think after the cancellation of Last of Us Online, I think Sony's pulling back on that. And the reception of all of the live service games that were announced during their last... what do they call them? Not the State of Plays. The other thing. Showcase. After the PlayStation Showcase last year. Got a pretty lukewarm reception. Nobody was really excited about any of those titles that were announced. So I think Sony is hearing it and going, we need to find a way to make this right. And also, there's a loud vocalization from the PlayStation audience right now that there's no games on the PlayStation 5. I think that's ridiculous. Helldivers 2 is a blast. Last of Us Part 2 Remastered is a lot of fun. We've also got Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Spider-Man 2, Death Stranding 2. We got a lot of games that are coming, have come, or, are already on the platform. So I think that's a little hyperbolic. But I get it at the same time. It does feel light, but also how heavy was 2013 to 2017?
Pretty heavy.
Was it though? What did we
so.
have?
We
We
had
had
The Witcher
Horizon
3,
Zero Dawn. We had
Bloodborne.
Uncharted 4.
You said 2013. So when did fucking Last of Us come out? I don't even know the remastered. The remaster came out in 2013, didn't it?
Yeah, but it was a PS3 title.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not counting that. The remaster came out 14, but I'm not counting that.
But people still played a lot of that.
I mean,
on PS4.
if you can't count Last of Us Part 2 remastered, you can't count Last of Us Part 1 remastered. You just can't do that. And PS5, admittedly, a lot of these titles are also on PS4, but you have Infamous Second Son. Who gives a fuck about that game? Whereas here, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart was excellent. Spider-Man Miles Morales, Spider-Man 2 were both excellent. God of War Ragnarok was excellent. Again, a lot of these games are on PS4.
And large gaps in between when they were released.
Was it though? I mean, it's been 3 years.
Miles Morales was 4 years because that came out. 3 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically.
2020 to we just passed its third birthday. We're in the fourth year right now, and I understand Sony's already calling it the second half, but I don't know. But to drive it back home to the point, Concord's not getting anybody excited. Fair Games, nobody's getting excited about that. Maybe there's a passing interest in Marathon just because of the legacy of Bungie. Halo, Destiny, these are big titles and important titles. Bungie knows how to make a really good shooter, So I'm always excited for something new. They're also reviving the IP. It's not exactly new, yada, yada. But, of all of the ones announced, that one is the most exciting. And then now that we have Helldivers 2, it's not doom and gloom for the PlayStation Live service front, but it's been a little rocky. There's been a up and then a lot of downs.
I mean, you brought up Helldivers 2. That it's not lightning in a bottle, but it just came out of nowhere. And I think that's not what a lot of these other games we're talking about are going to hit that same way.
Yeah.
So it's
definitely
not
one of those
too
things.
Great for them.
It's definitely one of those things where you and I are fans of Helldivers. We were excited for Helldivers 2. Me a little trepidatiously because I didn't know if they were going to keep that same favor of the first one that I liked so much. They have, and that's awesome. But nobody could have expected Helldivers 2 to blow up in the way that it has. I was on campus today and somebody asked me if I was playing Helldivers 2.
Yeah.
And I was like, are you serious? Yeah, absolutely I am. It's a blast. Oh yeah, I love it, this, that, and the third. And then everybody on campus is also talking about Persona 3 right now because it's a bunch of nerds. But the fact that I got asked, I was like, oh shit, yeah, absolutely. I wasn't expecting that from Helldivers 2. And clearly the devs weren't either. So that's exciting. But that's the one example of this direction from Sony going in the right direction. Yeah. So do we trust them to now steer the ship for Bungie 100%? I don't know. Now, to Toki's point of Bungie assuming accountability for development timelines and business costs and stuff, yeah, sure, maybe. Bungie has been a little, wishy-washy with Destiny as of recently, and I'm sure Marathon is probably falling behind, is probably what that quote is about. If I were to read into that, is that Marathon is not hitting the timeline that PlayStation is expecting them to hit. But also kind of a dick move, bro. Like,
yeah, it comes across like bitching.
Yeah, you're you're cracking the whip on your best example of a PlayStation live service game being Destiny 2, if you want to call it that. I wouldn't call it a PlayStation title. But you own the studio, so now I don't think they own the IP, but you own the studio who makes the IP, and I just don't. I don't like it. It just seems like bad business. It seems like you're bad mouthing, one of your best studios, and it's just like, why are you doing that, man? You don't need to talk about that in public.
Scroll down for a second, so I get the exact piece of information right. Go down a little bit more. It's the 45%. It was a drop in how much in terms of
that was
what they underwent?
Was it players or was it cost? Or I think it was.
Was it the very top then? Oh no, there it is.
Here it is.
Last October, Bungie staff were reportedly warned that revenue was running at around 45% below projections for the year. 45% below the projections. What were the projections? We have no goddamn clue what their expectations with it. How well it actually did.
That's a huge thing to be. I mean, they're not like pulling crazy numbers out here. They probably look at. What is your revenue over the last 5 years? Okay, so we can probably expect something like that. You're dropping a huge expansion this last year. That's probably going to boost us up quite a bit. So let's have a ambitious number maybe, but probably also one rooted in some form of realism, you would hope. And then when Last Light, that's what it was called. When Last Light didn't perform, there you go. There's your revenue problem, and that's a problem,
I'm going to use an anecdote real quick. Because the job that I work is sales is kind of a big thing about it. I'm not directly impacting of those sales, but what they'll release almost every single day is how much I comped in sales compared to the last year. And it could say something like, you did, minus 100% of what your previous sales were. And then that could be like off by like $300, $400. I still made good money that specific day compared to last year, but by your projections, it's in percentage a lot bigger than it makes it out to be. So this could be like a kick in the ass type thing that he's trying to do. Like, hey, we're going to take away your freedom. We're going to dissolve the board, step it up. This could be just like deeper business talk.
And maybe Bungie needs that.
Maybe they do, yeah.
Maybe they do. I don't know. It's hard to tell from the outside. But from the outside, this looks messy. It's not something you want, being passed around in headlines. So I don't know why you said it. I definitely wouldn't have if it were me, especially because, Bungie is a beloved studio. People love Bungie. People love their legacy with Halo. People love their legacy now with Destiny and so forth, and people still love Destiny 2, and I want a new jumping in point for Destiny personally. I would do that in the form of a Destiny 3, but I'm fairly interested in Marathon. That trailer looked cool. So from here, it's just a matter of what are we doing? I don't like this quote. I don't like this threat. I don't like this idea of Bungie losing what independence it has left under PlayStation's reign, especially because I don't really trust PlayStation right now.
And we're also people, real human beings, that appreciate video games and like them because of the art that they are.
Yeah.
And you get that from the developers themselves, not the executive heads like Totoki. So them getting more control over the creative types is, I don't think, ever a good thing, even if Sony thinks that it is.
Yeah. And to your point, Totoki's he's a business guy. Yeah. He's not a gamer or anything. He's a guy who knows how to run a business. Mm-hmm. Maybe he knows how to run it well. We're gonna see in the coming months to maybe years if he just becomes the full on CEO. But for you to be so early in the job and to be dropping quotes like this that feel grimy. Like this one does, it's like, all right, here we go with more of that PlayStation ego, PlayStation pride that we've delved back into in the last couple of years that really spelled a huge hiccup for the PlayStation 3. Even though, if you look at the numbers, PlayStation has always had the dominating console in terms of sales, but
that's why they think they have a big dick.
Yeah, but I remember when PS3 was on the hunger. They were looking for, and they flooded the market with great games and artistic games and different games, and they redefined themselves as the place with great single player exclusives. And then they continued that trend in PS4, and then now they are continuing to continue that trend in PS5. But the Switch feels like you're just after the money. I don't know. We'll see.
Seems like it.
Connor, moving on to topic number 2, your first penny of the day. Here we go. Take it away, my friend.
Well, we have an article from Video Game Chronicle. This is from Chris Scullion.
Again.
Good work, man.
Let me check the third one. Hold on.
Oh,
okay, all right. We got Andy
guy.
Robinson on VGC. There we go. We're heavy on the VGC.
Yeah, but this is Chris Scullion. Final Fantasy music legend Nobuo Uematsu doesn't think he'll ever compose a whole game again. Legendary video game music composer Nobuo Uematsu has said he doesn't think he'll be able to compose an entire game soundtrack ever again. I just repeated myself. Uematsu is most famous for composing the soundtracks for the first 9 Final Fantasy games and working on numerous subsequent entries.
Christ.
Working hard, man. Some of the best soundtracks in gaming, and he was right there working.
there.
Although Final Fantasy VII Remake and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth contain soundtracks created by different composers, Uematsu still composed the main theme for both games. Now, in a new interview with German publication Zelt Online, ahead of a performance of his new orchestral show, Maragnon, Heart of Ice, Uematsu said he thinks his days of composing full video game soundtracks are over. Asked if he ever felt that one day nostalgia could take over and convince him to write an entire soundtrack for a game again, as opposed to just a main theme, Uematsu replied that he didn't see it happening. Quote, "As far as Final Fantasy is concerned, I'm still involved by writing the main themes for the games," he explained, "but I don't think I'll compose music for a whole game again. You would have to give it full throttle for 2 or 3 years, and I don't think I have the physical and mental strength to do it anymore. I think I'd rather use the time I have left to work on other projects that I love, such as compositions like Marengon or my band Uematsu Nobuo Kontiki." Uematsu's last full game soundtrack was Fantasian, the Apple Arcade exclusive RPG written and produced by his longtime creative partner and Final Fantasy creator Hironobu Sakaguchi. In an interview in 2021 to promote the game, Sakaguchi said that he felt that Fantasian could be Uematsu's last soundtrack. Quote, "Before we approached him to work on Fantasian, he was going through some health issues, and there were concerns if he was going to be able to compose everything or if it was even possible for him to work on this," Sakaguchi said at the time. The composer ultimately pulled through to compose Fantasian's entire 60-piece orchestrated soundtrack, the director said, adding that it may prove to be an important milestone. Quote, "I think he kind of hinted that Fantasian is maybe the last game that he does from end to end in terms of scoring an entire soundtrack," Sakaguchi also said at the time, adding that while Uematsu would likely continue to do individual compositions for games, Fantasian might be his last record. On a positive note, he poured his heart and soul into Fantasian, Sakaguchi said. "For me, when I heard it, it almost made me tear up a little bit because it was a very big moment in both of our careers." An apparent Steam database entry for Fantasian was spotted back in August 2023, suggesting that the game's Apple Arcade exclusivity may be coming to an end and a PC port may be coming. As yet, however, nothing has been officially announced. Real quick, that game, if you remember it, Tavin, looks beautiful.
No idea.
Yeah, it looks beautiful. Very good art style. Hopefully we'll be able to gain general access to it, especially with that soundtrack. He's always been on top of his game in everything that I've known him to do. And I remember reading a while ago, I think it's this exact story they were referencing about how he was thinking that might be his last game. And it made sense to me then, and it makes sense to me now. He's old. He's getting older.
64.
64, yeah. And then, some people could work longer than that, but realistically, what do most people want to do at 64?
They start looking at retirement.
Yeah. And he's still, up to make music. Just the 2 to 3 year projects.
It's a lot. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. Absolutely it is. And to put that on his shoulders is a lot at 64, especially if he's been going through some health issues and so forth. But, I'm just saying, John Williams out here 98 still doing shit.
Is he 98?
Pretty sure. He's in his 90s.
Fuck.
Yeah.
John, you see, he has such a long list of soundtracks he's composed. You would think he'd either be like...
My apologies. John Williams is 92. But still,
that's
90
that's
fucking
92.
2 out here putting out bangers too.
Hey, but
he hasn't missed a step.
And some people who do that kind of end up regretting it. I know Orson Welles, for example, he said that he wishes he didn't have the love for cinema or something akin to that because it spent a lot of his time, a lot of his effort. I don't think he made a lot of money in his career, though he did get a lot of fame. I might be talking out of my ass. Uematsu, though, he came from not knowing anything about music. He's self-taught.
Yeah.
And to be this level of quality is impressive.
Salute.
Yeah.
Right. Salute. Like that. He's put in his time. He's put in his work. There's a legacy of work and art that we can follow and listen to, and so much of it still holds up and is still fantastic to listen to this day. We just reviewed Final Fantasy VII, the original, on this channel, and that was a big note. I believe you said it specifically of the music in that game is phenomenal.
Love it.
And the tracks in Final Fantasy VII Remake were incredible. Obviously, he didn't do all of them, but he did the main theme, and it was badass. I'm excited to hear the Rebirth main theme. I don't believe I've heard it yet. At least not, I haven't searched it out, definitely. So I'm excited, when I load up the title screen, what am I going to be hearing and so forth. And yeah, I think it totally makes sense. He's like, hey, man, let me get my check. Fine. It's just more to give to my children, grandchildren. I don't know if he's got kids or not. But, it's more to just stack up for the future and so forth. There's absolutely no reason for, or there's absolutely no problem in artists, especially legendary legacy artists like this, to just be like, you know what? I've had enough. I've done enough. I'm cool.
Teach their own.
Shout out. Jim Carrey, when he announced his retirement after Sonic 2, even though he appears to be coming back for Sonic 3, we'll see how that turns out. But when he said that, he was like, you know what? I'm good. I'm satiated. I've done enough. I have enough. I've done what I wanted to do and then some. So I've got other interests right now. He's like, I want to go off and paint or, experience nature and so forth. And there's no reason that there should be a period in our times, in the age we live in, where all of us should be able to do that.
Yeah.
And there is, a growing conversation, if you're paying attention to American politics at least, that time of us being able to rest is shortened. And I think that's a crock of shit.
Of course.
Yeah.
From people who are not going to get that kind of retirement. Oh, yeah, that's the best way to tell that it's bullshit. And it's, I don't know what the fuck those people are thinking. You have to be on crack to think that. And yet I've seen it.
Presidential candidate out here saying it is running on their specific platform, not going to identify anybody.
All up on those uppers.
Anyways, I don't even think you understand which candidate I'm talking about. But anyways, Nikki Haley. Anyways.
Oh, she did say that.
Yeah, she did say that. Anyways, so yeah, but no. Listen, man, what more do we want from a guy like this? When is enough? I think he's done enough. Salute, man. You did, especially if you're having health issues or you want to go spend time with your family or whatever, man. Go live your life. You've done enough. Thank you. Thank you for continuing to put out more when you feel like it, Awesome. We'll take it.
We'll like it, yeah. I don't care.
And then and match this with speaking with gaming auteur level conversations. The conversation we had 2 weeks ago now about Kojima. And Kojima saying, "Hey, man, I don't think I'll ever retire. I kind of want to always be making games and so forth." But he puts the weight of Kojima Productions on his shoulders, and we had the conversation of that legacy should outlive the man, right? Well, hey, here, Uematsu, bro, you've birthed all of these sons. You've got all these people who listened to your music growing up and are now either producing music with you or composing music alongside you or working on the same projects as you who grew up listening to your tracks and so forth. So why not, leave some space for them? Let's find the next Uematsu. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. They're already out there, I bet.
Can still track they're probably, I mean, we're already listening to them, more than likely. Anyways, but yeah, shout out, salute. He's a legend, and he deserves, flowers.
All the accolades.
Moving on, topic number 3, Connor, your second penny of the day.
VGC.
A little bit of a repetition from last week, but, we're going to go with it anyway. Here you go.
New news happens. As I said a second ago, this is Video Game Chronicle from Andy Robinson. Switch 2 is targeting March 2025 and was delayed to avoid shortages, new report claims. Nintendo's next console is targeting a launch in March 2025. That's according to a new report by Japanese news publication Nikkei, paywalled. That's a weird thing to include, which claims that the Switch's successor's internal delay, reported first by VGC and others earlier this month, was partly so that Nintendo could avoid potential hardware supply issues. Although Nintendo had planned to launch in late 2024 for Switch 2, according to Nikkei, priority was given to ensure the initial inventory of the successor console and a lineup of software titles at the time of its launch in an attempt to avoid widespread reselling. Nikkei said it expects the next Nintendo console to again be a hybrid portable home device similar to Switch, as reported previously by VGC. The publication also corroborates that the machine will have a larger screen than the original Switch's 6.2-inch display. Nikkei notes that Switch 2 could yet slip beyond March 2025, dependent on manufacturing and how much software is ready for launch. As reported earlier this month, VGC heard from multiple sources who said Nintendo had told publishers its next console would now launch in Q1 2024. 2025. According to its sources, third-party game companies were recently briefed on an internal delay in Nintendo's next-gen launch timing from late 2024 to early the following year. One publishing source suggested that the delay was so that Nintendo could prepare stronger first-party software for the console. You know, I mean, you want to avoid what happened with the PS5 where it came out and
that was my thing.
Problems.
The pandemic created a very huge shortage of hardware, you know, and it was felt throughout the entire industry, not just the PS5, but the Xbox Series X had a lot of trouble manufacturing things. The Series S actually found a lot of success because they were able to actually hit store shelves, and even Nintendo Switch was having issues meeting demand at the time. And, you know, it was 3 years old at that point. So this totally makes sense to me. Hey, let's make sure we have all of our ducks lined up in a row. Let's make sure we have a great slate of first-party titles ready to go in the first year. And let's make sure, you know, we're working with our partners and manufacturers in order to make sure that anybody who wants a Nintendo Switch can get a Nintendo Switch. Because, hey, listen, you fuckers who buy shit because you know it's limited in supply and then sell it for abhorrent prices, double, triple, sometimes the original price. You motherfuckers can go to hell. Yeah, you scalping piece of shit.
You should get scalped.
Jesus Christ.
I mean, that was if we lived in like medieval Europe, that's what they would do to them. They're like, oh, you're going to scalp prices? We're going to scalp you. Bring that back.
In a video game.
No. Not at all. That beats the point. Everyone's going to say, oh, a video game, big woo.
Connor, what do you think the chances are that it actually misses its March timeframe?
I don't think that's very possible at all. Considering their original release window was 2024, if they have just more months to prepare, and it's Nintendo has a pretty good track record of knowing what they're doing.
I mean, it's not like they have to put out a new console right away or anything.
But they're going to.
They're going to. But, you know, the Switch is an incredibly well-selling console. I mean, it took, I remember Wii U era, and everybody was talking, oh, man, Nintendo, just go third party. Please just go third party. Bounced right the fuck back. And this happens every so often with Nintendo, you know?
Just a stutter step.
You know, the GameCube wasn't the most successful console, even though, you know, everybody's conversation around it would have you thinking differently, but it really wasn't that successful. Bounced right back with the Wii. Now, granted, that also led to their downfall with the Wii U, but we bounced right back with the Switch. Hopefully, we've learned all of our fucking lessons, and we keep giving the people what they want. Switch 2, I think, would do that.
Yeah, I mean, with Wii U, they tried to change up how you played their games.
Yeah,
I don't think they'd be if they.
But also, the branding was bad. Like, nobody understood that it was a new console. You know, there's a lot of reasons why the Wii U failed.
No big hitting games coming out with it right away.
Yeah.
Wasn't Skyward Sword like the big release?
No, that was a Wii title.
That was a Wii title.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, either way, what did they have then? What the fuck was on the Wii U? Like the big, showstopper.
Not a whole lot.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I don't think they'd do that again.
I watched, both of us, you less so actually, but, you know, I'm a big fan of Scott the Woz, and Scott the Woz is a very heavy Nintendo content creator, but he does venture out and do other things. He's currently on this video series now where he's breaking down the entirety of the Wii U's life cycle. and it's not great. It's not great. There's like a 2.5 hour video. Barely gets halfway through the life cycle because that's how detailed he gets in it. And he's putting in jokes and you know stuff to keep it entertaining and so forth. But yeah, he does great retrospective content, and I love that, especially because it's so Nintendo focused. And there are many eras of Nintendo that are blind spots for me. There are eras that I know fairly well, like the Wii and now the Switch I know pretty damn well. But yeah, the GameCube don't know super well. The Wii U definitely don't know. And then, Nintendo 64 is a little spotty for me. I know of the big hitters, but I don't know of everything. And then anything before that, good luck.
Yeah.
But driving to the point here, Nintendo wants Switch 2 they want to recreate their success. I mean, why wouldn't you, right? Like, granted, this is Nintendo. Nintendo does weird things, but Switch 2 just seems like such an easy dunk. Like, just call it a Switch 2. Be smart. Learn from the Wii U. Don't call it the Switch Up or something. Don't call it the Switch, the Switch Plus or this. I think even Super Switch is pushing it.
Switch 2.0.
I think Switch 2 is fine. Just do it. Be normal. Hey, this is the next Switch. Everybody go buy this one. We want you to buy this one. It's better. It's bigger. It's brighter.
Plays the same games.
Plays the
hopefully.
same. Better play the same games. But yeah, I'm excited for Switch 2. Take your time. Make sure it's right, because when it's available, I want to be able to buy it. And I hope there's a great Mario title or Mario Kart or something paired with it. So I'm sure we're getting quite the lineup of games. If their focus on first party titles is as important as this VGC article is saying it is, I think that means Metroid Prime 4 is not going to be just a Switch 1 launch title or just a Switch 1 title. I think it's going to launch day and date with both of them. I think that game's probably ready or close to being ready, and it could come out now if it wanted to, or if they wanted it to. But I think they know it would be better if they just go ahead and put it on Switch 2.
And you mentioned it before, the sales of the current Switch are still good. The games there are selling well, so they're not hurting for a big hit like Metroid right now. They can afford to wait.
I also think but like also at the same time, it's not like we're short on IPs that are ready to come out. I'm sure there's a new 3D Mario, cooking up over there. I'm sure Mario Kart is ready to go. I'm sure there's probably like a Legend of Zelda remake or report of something, getting prepped and ready to go. From there, I mean, you don't really need a Metroid Prime, but I would guess, Connor, prior to New Horizons in 2020 with Animal Crossing, Animal Crossing was not Nintendo's biggest IP, but it became one of Nintendo's biggest IP with New Horizons. Because of the pandemic, everybody bought one, yada, yada, yada. I would guess that Nintendo said, "Oop, halt content on that. Let's make a new one for Switch 2." So we have a new Animal Crossing to launch within the first year, second year at most of Switch 2.
It did seem like they kind of stopped earlier than they could have.
Yeah.
With Animal Crossing.
They could have milked the fuck out of that.
Yeah.
The fact they didn't, I think, shows their hand of them going, "Oh wait, this is we've struck gold here. We've got new things. Let's have a new." And honestly, they may just call it Animal Crossing New Horizons 2.
They could.
I don't think they will, but they could, And I think they're going to bank on their first 2 years being 3D Mario, Mario Kart, Metroid Prime 4 somewhere in there, a Zelda remake of any kind, whether it's a port or just a full-blown remake, could be of any of them. And then you finish that off with an Animal Crossing. It's a hell of a run.
Will they do it, though? Guess what we'll have to do,
They
Tavin?
fucking should.
Yeah, I mean, easier said than done. We don't make the games.
Of course. Moving on. Topic number 4, Connor. My second penny of the day. Let's bring it back home to the PlayStation front. Connor, after all this talk, all this discussion of why are we buying your console if you're going to sell all the exclusives away, we jump over to Inside Gaming over here by Anthony Fertino. PlayStation planning PC support for PlayStation VR 2 in 2024. In a new blog post today, whenever this was posted, PlayStation announced that it is planning to add PC support for the PlayStation VR2 system sometime in 2024. The company said that, quote, "We are currently testing the ability for PSVR2 players to access additional games on PC. Since these plans are still only in testing, fans might expect PC support to arrive later in the year. However, this is only speculation. PlayStation did not reveal an exact release date, but the company did confirm that, quote, "We hope to make this support available in 2024. The PSVR2 system first released last year with a launch lineup featuring over 30 games throughout the launch window. This included 13 brand new titles. However, the VR space continues to expand. The PlayStation VR2 could still use a wider selection of games, and PC support would definitely be a major leap forward. Fans are already speculating on some of the potential PC games that could benefit from this access, but PlayStation did not elaborate on just how expansive this support would be. The Apple Vision Pro released earlier this month to mixed reviews. Some users were unhappy with its weight, among other things. Yada, 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 yada. All right. Let's talk about it. PlayStation VR2. Not a strong start.
Mm-hmm.
All right? No, there's no secret about it. It's the new PlayStation Vita. You know, as a Vita fan, we let the Vita down. The Vita was a great piece of hardware, but let's be honest, PlayStation put a lot of barriers in the way of the Vita and having that success. I think PSVR 2 is a similar story. I think PSVR 1 was a great success because it was new technology. People were excited and willing to jump in, and PlayStation's expectations were low. And I think it surpassed those expectations, which I think attributed to some ego and pride in PSVR 2 that was unfounded. Because now we are several years into the technology of virtual reality, and we've yet to see a huge amount of real banger titles. There's a couple of standouts in there that you go, oh no, these games are great, but there's also a lot of titles that you pick up, you play for 15 minutes, and you get it, and you put it down, and you never touch it again. You know?
Yeah.
There are a couple of titles that are interesting for PSVR 2, but the only one that makes me go, oh, maybe I would like to jump into that is the Metro title that was announced at the last State of Play. You know, that was very exciting for me personally. I would love to play a Metro game in VR. I think PlayStation has learned from their mistakes with the Vita. I think PlayStation understands that the price point entry of a PS5 plus a PSVR 2 is too much for them to jump in, for most consumers to jump in on. I mean, you're talking putting down $900 essentially in order to experience these games. It's just not viable, you know? So let's get the headset to work with a PC. Let's figure out a way to switch this over so we can tap into a new user base and we can start competing with things like MetaQuest, and we can start competing with things like Apple Vision Pro. We can start competing with all of these different headsets and things on a software side. This also, I'm sorry to take up all the oxygen in the room here,
Very good.
but this also continues the conversation that the industry cannot support exclusivity as much as it could afford to in the past. We need to start finding new ways to generate revenue, and the best way to do that is put your software, put your hardware in the hands of players where the players are.
And as far as VR goes, I think you're going to find a wider audience that would take your product and use it on the PC crowd rather than the PlayStation crowd. People want PlayStation 5s and to play those games.
We know what that means.
Yes, everybody does. But people don't really care overall, as much at least, about the VR titles coming to it.
And to add to this point, who's your more hardcore gaming fan base? It's going to be your PC guys.
Yeah.
Right? Your PlayStation players, they'll pick up a Call of Duty, they'll pick up a Madden, they'll pick up the new God of War. From there, who knows what they're going to pick up.
And you know, when it comes to testing out new technology, you want to go to those people who are more on the fringes, the people who are on the front line of the new big things that happen in gaming. I mean, people go to great lengths to play old games on PC, mod games on PC, and this kind of technology thrives on that kind of platform. I mean, MetaQuest, that's the issue with me talking about VR, is they all just bleed together, because there's not like the standout winner that people can really point to, though there's definitely ones that are more preferred, and VR can find that platform to elevate itself on PC more so than PlayStation. Will it be successful in the way they want it to be? as you were saying, they probably had too high of an expectation off the back of the first one, and they're never going to reach the goal that they were hoping for.
Well, and now the question becomes, Connor, PSVR 2 on PC. Okay, cool. Does that mean Horizon Call of the Mountain is coming to PC?
You would think it had to.
You would assume so.
If you're selling your new title on PC, your new platform on PC, you're going to have to bring the games that you made for.
And now the question is, what is the compatibility of games that are not on PlayStation VR 2, but are on PC VR in some ways? What is the compatibility there? Can I play Superhot on PSVR 2 now that it's on PC? Or can I not? Because believe it or not, Connor, I'm not thinking of Superhot, Beat Saber. Because believe it or not, Connor, Beat Saber is still not available on PlayStation VR 2. Like,
the most popular VR game that has ever been made.
It didn't hit it. And that should tell you how weak the lineup is for PSVR 2 right now. They dropped the ball when it comes to the games. And that's the most important part, is selling us the games.
I feel sorry for the people that made this console because I think they're being hindered by the upper management, the business types, and now maybe they'll get a little bit more leeway in the kind of games they want to create.
And from all reports, neither of us have tried it, of course, because, the price point was too much and the software was not appealing enough.
You have to have it with the PS5,
and you have to have it with the PlayStation 5. But to that point, what was PlayStation's plan with this console? I don't know if they had one. It doesn't feel like they had one. It felt like, we did a PSVR, so let's do a VR 2. But okay, but we have to upgrade the technology because we're still using Move wands because we decided to go cheap on the 3 or on the VR 1. So, we're still using Move wands and PlayStation Eye cameras and so forth. So we have to upgrade all this technology in order to have a next gen experience with PSVR 2. Okay, well that means inherently all the VR 1 games cannot be backwards compatible because they function off of that old technology. So we fucked ourselves. Just like we fucked ourselves with the PlayStation 3 with the super processor shit. Awesome. You did so great over here, Sony. And then now we look at the PSVR 2. Okay, fuck. Well, now we have to get our teams to work on PSVR 2 titles. Oh, well, shit. These games are so big and demand so many hands on deck to get them to launch. We're barely getting them out the door with the way they are. We got to get the God of War Ragnaroks out. We got to get the Horizon Forbidden Wests out. We got to get the Spider-Man 2s out. We have to, because that's what people want. Those are going to sell. Guess what? They sold. They did very well for themselves. Congratulations. But it left you with an empty lineup for your new console. So now what do? You pivot, you adjust to the times, and you somehow get all of these other PC games to work on your technology. Now, hopefully, there's enough compatibility between the two inherently because they decided to update their technology and not stick with those atrocious-ass PS Move wands, that hopefully it's not going to be that big of a deal. We'll find out.
That's for them to find out.
And then also, I'm sure all these VR developers who are making, the same copy-paste VR games that appears to be from the outside, I'm sure they would love a little price bump from being able to port things over to the PSVR 2. This way, players who maybe, whatever that weird section of player is that has a PlayStation VR 2 and a PC can now connect all this and start buying games that they didn't have access to before.
They're out there.
Listen, somebody's like that. Is the door getting knocked on?
I think so.
You think so? What did he say in the message?
So he said that a while that he was coming over.
But I saw your phone go up. Am I wrong?
Because he said,
on the way
just now leaving. Yeah, so that was...
Oh, okay. I see. Oh, no. He's not here yet. It's probably just the child upstairs then. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it for the news section of the podcast. But don't go anywhere. We are about to jump right into our Persona 3 Reload review, done by one Connor Elliott. That's this guy right here.
Am I jumping right into it, huh?
No, not right now. No, we're outroing the news segment of the show. Ladies and gentlemen, remember to like, subscribe, tell us how you feel about all of the news stories we covered today, and let us know about some topics that maybe we missed throughout the week that you'd like us to double back and talk to about. We would, of course, love an audience 2 pennies section as well. I mean, if we do that, we got to start moving faster through our segments because this show runs long. Anyways, until next time, have a great time, and Connor, say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye.
What's poppin', players? Welcome back to a 2 penny games review, this time for Persona 3 Reload. I'm your host, Tavin Bothel, here with my good friend, co-host, and lead reviewer. Say hello to the people, Connor Elliott.
Hello, people. I'm here to review a game.
You are indeed, my friend. Connor, you are our lead reviewer for this game. I've also been playing alongside it, but I'm not nearly as far as you are, sir. I don't even think I've broken 10 hours yet. So I do have some thoughts and opinions on what I've played so far, but I don't think it'd be appropriate for me to kick this review off. So let's go ahead and knock it off right, or hand it off right to you, rather. How many hours have you played, and what is your review of Persona 3 Reload?
Currently, I've played 44 hours of the game. I just hit that mark. And I can say pretty confidently that Persona 3 Reload is an amazing game. Now, it's one where its importance is very heavily wrapped up in its narrative and its characters, both of which take some time to get started. Unfortunately, it took me, in terms of game time hours, possibly 20 hours before we really started getting teased with some of the deeper plot elements of what the game has to offer and character motivations. And the journey up until that point was filled with some very fun gameplay, interesting systems that are very unique to a Persona game. If you played a Persona game, you've probably played all of them, at least 3 all the way to 5, the more modern ones. And somehow this format, which is tried and true, and some might say is stale at this point, as someone who's played Persona 5 and has now played Persona 3, they have enough differences to make them feel like different games. And not just in terms of the narrative, but also in terms of how the specifics of the gameplay work. It's a turn-based game where you're going through procedurally generated dungeons that hold different items, enemies that you can surprise or surprise you, and you're working your way up a tower. Pretty simplistic, but the complexity comes with how every single day has to be managed. You know, you hang out with friends, which has gameplay ramifications. You increase your social stats, which allow you to study better and all that kind of stuff. But generally, what you're really going in there for are the characters and the plot. Persona 3, I think, probably is better than 5. As someone who hasn't played this game all the way through to completion yet, I can even now say I'm pretty confident in that. Because the themes that are explored in this game not only have a lot of weight to them due to the heaviness of them, you know, in terms of it being pretty dark at times, but all of it have relations to characters. And if not directly to the main cast of characters, who, outstanding, really, really good. There's not a single bad member of the party. Every theme that's explored relates to them in some way, to where every single character feels like they have weight behind them instead of just party member number 2 that you decided to recruit 10 hours into the game. One of the things that's very striking when you first start this game up, even at the start screen, is the UI is amazing. Mm-hmm. It has a nice ambiance that it sets from the get-go. It's not playing any music, and when you load into the game, it has some pretty good music. I was really high on it right out the gate, but as I kind of listened to it more and more and more, I didn't sour on certain soundtrack that the game had to offer, but I certainly started picking out my favorites and was jamming along with them, and then when the other ones came in, I would just lock into my game mode and just kind of play it like I would like any else. But going to that turn-based combat, which, depending on how you play the game, specifically the difficulty, will determine how much gameplay you're going to be partaking in. I played it on normal, and I'm able to shoot through. You have managing of your days going on, and you have deadlines to get to certain points in the procedurally generated dungeons before the next big story beat happens. And you, on normal, could pretty easily do that in a single day. On hard mode, though, you have to kind of break it up and manage it a lot more. The issue with that is it prevents you from taking advantage of the social links that you develop in the game to get to know all of the external characters and the party members that you recruit throughout the game. But at the same time, the normal mode doesn't allow you to dive so deep into that combat system because it's not requiring you to manage things as specifically as a hard mode would do.
Even in boss fights?
No, boss fights are an exception to that. You know, boss fights kind of serve as like a bookmark of, hey, if you can beat this guy, you don't need to grind.
I mean,
you're good to go on.
That's kind of what you want in these games, right? Is just rinse and repeat rinse and repeat like generic enemies, and then when it's boss fight time, all right, now you got to start using your different abilities that you haven't been using this whole time.
That's true to a degree. So first of all, you have weaknesses that each enemy has to take advantage of to then do large amounts of damage. Your own party members are also susceptible to this weakness, but you generally can catch your enemies, shadows as they're called, off guard to be able to get out your special attacks that weaken your enemy to do all of that large amounts of damage. But even with this, pretty simplistic game design, which never gets boring, to its credit, I never sat there thinking, I got to fight this new fucking enemy, because there are rewards that you get at the end of each fight. Some of them can be new personas, which are the main way that your characters fight and use their special magic abilities and attack abilities, of which your character has access to a large variety of them that he can switch to suit whatever purpose he needs. And you can unlock those at the end of battles, more money, more XP. So there's always something to look forward to in each and every single fight, no matter how insignificant it is. But going back to the difficulty problem, if you play it on hard, while you're able to delve more into those individual fights, because you can't just, take advantage of the weakness and storm through everything, it hinders you in the social aspects of the game, which can, matter when it comes to character development of some of the more minor characters, which thankfully this version of the game seemed to deviated from the original, where the progression of your relationship with your party members is no longer mandatory. It doesn't even have the same kind of menu that usually pops up for some of the other random people. Because in Persona 5, for example, you would have to spend time with your party members to kind of tease out their own personal story. And it's more relegated to the overall plot in this game as opposed to those little minute things you do. And this relates once again to the difficulty, because when you play on hard, you have less chance to develop those relationships, and so you end up kind of suffering. You end up not getting the full scope of the game when you do that. So it's a game that I recommend playing on normal, but I think that it's kind of a bad thing when a game requires you to get the full experience on a specific difficulty rather than just doing whatever you like to do as a player. And of course, maybe you're just so fucking good at the game that you can play on those high levels and not have a problem. I'm really, really good at the game. I'm maybe not that good, so it's not for me, and it's definitely not for the average player out there.
So, okay, talk to me where you're getting with the social link differences and so forth. What do you mean mandatory? Like, you're talking the OG Persona 3, because this is, of course, a remake?
Yes,
of
the OG Persona 3.
Okay.
That was one of the things they apparently removed from this one. It was prevalent in Persona 5. Was it in Persona 4? Did you have...
I don't know what you're talking about in Persona 5, it being mandatory to advance social links.
No, it's not mandatory. I shouldn't say mandatory. I should say there's a progression system that's clearly denoted in Persona 5 that you have to reach up to. Persona 3, it's a bit more casual. It doesn't seem like it's so stringent upon you going out and hanging with these people. It's really just a personal preference, because in the original game it seemed to be like a mandatory thing that you had to do. So it gives you more options to plan out your day without having to do your
I'm still not quite sure what you mean. Do you just mean like the days that like you would have to spend with a character? Yeah. But you wouldn't necessarily advance? Yes. I mean, that's still in there.
Yeah, but it instantly advances it whenever you offer, whenever one of your party members offers to hang out, you get their story right away. Rather than the other way you do social links, which is sometimes you have to hang out with them with no real reward.
I don't know if is that right? I don't know if that's right.
I believe it is, yes.
Because you can't because I had back-to-back, one of the early guys that you befriend on. I had the opportunity to back-to-back. And the first time it advanced, but the second time it shouldn't, right? It should just be like, oh, we hung out, we had a good time, and you got
yes,
some
that's
points.
what I was trying to say.
So that's not in there anymore?
No, that is in here, but it's not here for the main cast members, the main party members.
Oh, okay.
Those people, and that's, once again, what the highlights of this game are those characters and their relationship.
So you're talking the ones who actually go into TARDIS with you and are, important to the plot.
Yes,
quote unquote.
Yes.
Okay.
And you tease out their story just by going and hanging out with them whenever you have the opportunity
but they
to do
still,
so.
surely they still, they kneecap you because you can't progress those social links further than where you are plot-wise in the game, right?
Probably not, but it does so in such a natural way that it doesn't really feel like it's streamlining you on the way you unveil all that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. And it takes a while to even get to the point where you can really develop those relationships and see the turmoil those characters
that's
have.
probably my biggest problem right now with the game is its pacing, like you've mentioned, where it's just taking a while to get to the point. I'm coming up on 10 hours. Like, they've tutorialized pretty much the whole game to me right now. But at this point in both P4 and 5, I would have had 3, 4, 5 social links going at this rate. Here I have 1, 2, and it's just like, man, I don't really care about the old people in the bookstore. And sure, this friend I've got in class is cool, but like, I'm trying to talk to the redhead chick, and I'm trying to talk to the girl in pink. I'm trying to find out who the best girl is, and I'm feeling like I'm being guarded from that early on and so forth.
Mitsuru, the redheaded chick that you talked about. I
don't think any of their names are memorable.
They might be when you
they
go
might
on
be
further
they
down the
might be
line
40,
when you play.
50 hours later, but I remember Yusuke like as soon as I met him. I remember Chie as soon as I met her, and so on and so forth. Makoto and An. Those names like still meant something to me. To me, I'm like, it's the redhead chick, it's the girl in the pink, and it's the dude with the hat or whatever. Now, granted, to your point, if you've played a Persona game, you've played this game before, essentially. And that might be like my biggest thing I can say about this game so far in my experience is I've played 4 and 5. 4 is my personal favorite or whatever, but that doesn't matter. And as I've been playing 3, I have been sitting here going, yeah, it's more Persona, and it's good. It's great even. It's really great. But I feel like I've been here before, and there's a little bit of going through the motions and so forth. Now, granted, that's kind of to come with the tutorialization and so forth. But I just remember there being more of a hook in 4 and in 5 than there seems to be here. It just feels like it's taking a while to get going. I don't feel like the meat of the thing anyway. And maybe when they finally put a date on, like, hey, make progress before this date, maybe that'll change. As of right now, it's just like I don't know, man. You want to go into Tartarus and fight some shadows tonight, or do you just want to go sing karaoke or do all these things? And granted, that's Persona is managing your time and deciding on what to do. But as of right now, there's not a clear goal for what I should do, which I should add on the remake elements of it. One, like you said, the UI and the presentation and all those things are excellent. But they added in something that wasn't in the original, which is the network capabilities of it, which kind of gives you a nice guideline to be like, it tells you what everyone's average player level is, where most people are in Tartarus at this point. It's breakdowns of like, hey, did you focus on social life elements, or did you focus on Tartarus elements, or something else and so forth, and kind of gives you a couple things that people were doing on this night and so forth, or this day. And I'm really appreciating that, because that works as a more natural guide without it being a boring read an IGN guide of what is the best, most optimal route to take. This adding those network things, which were definitely in Persona 5. I'm trying to remember if it was in, because I played Persona 4 Golden, which definitely had network capabilities in it, but I don't think it was, I played it late. It was on the Vita. It didn't always work. I didn't always check it because I was rarely connected to Wi-Fi on my Vita and so forth. So I don't remember it being a part of that experience. But in P5, I like that system because it just allows you to still have the freedom of choice, but also be able to, keep up with your RPG number go up elements at the same time.
And, going back to the difficulty, I feel like that guide is far more important when you're on higher difficulties.
Yeah.
On normal, this is a person who's played Persona, by the way, because I think that really is the key to this.
Yeah.
If you played a Persona and you kind of know the deal, you can go into normal mode and plan your time out perfectly. So I mentioned earlier, you have social stats, which can kind of prevent you from doing certain quests or progressing certain relationships.
Yeah.
I maxed them out. That was my main goal.
Yeah.
I was like, get that done with, so it's a feature I can just ignore for the rest of the game.
That's always my let's get the charm up, let's get the intelligence up, and the courage up. Those big 3 things. There's more in the other ones, but they focus on those big 3, and the other ones are still there, but they're just not as important as the big 3.
And they just need the 3 are good. That's all they need. They don't need to mess it up too much. You're already spending a lot of time trying to develop relationships with characters and still get those stats up.
Yeah.
With 3, I spent
which is why as soon as the bookstore opened, I was like, going there. Because that's a great way to grind out those stats, is reading some books and so forth.
They never gave me more. They're still all sold out.
Oh, they'll come.
Give me more.
They'll come.
I don't think they are, Tab.
Have you read them all already?
I've read them all, and then it's still not
they'll
coming.
come. Sometimes it just takes a while. It takes a few months sometimes.
It's been a long, long while.
P4 was that way, where it was a long time. They did a better job of because like they'll give it to you in like groups of like 4 or whatever, and P5 did it in like 1 to 2. So like it was more spread out. Whereas in 4 and then I assume in 3, because I haven't actually bought any books yet, it'll give you like, here's a huge chunk, because they don't expect you to buy everything at the same time. I don't know why, but that's what they expect.
Yeah, I'm sorry if I got confused. You can just buy that stuff and then read it all in one night to get your stats up. There's no like progression of it. Of those books that you buy?
I mean, it takes time to read, right?
Oh, books. There's the books and then there's the computer stuff.
I don't know anything about the computer stuff.
That's where you. So what books were you? What the fuck?
Go to the bookstore, buy some books.
I never did that.
Yeah, you gotta go buy the books, bro.
See,
they're very important.
I thought it was replaced with what you get at the CD store, where you have this shared computer at the dorm, because you stay at a dorm. It's your main.
I like the dorm.
I do like the dorm as well.
I like the dorm.
There is a catch.
Yeah.
In Persona games. Persona 4, murder. Ooh.
Yeah.
Persona 5, you're a delinquent fucking piece of shit, and everyone.
No, you're not.
I know, but everyone spits on you and treats you like trash, and then you get caught up in all of these hijinks. Persona 3, it's just like you're in a dorm and you're trying to, clear this tower.
Well, and here I'll insert just a quick, because we're approaching some of the content in the game in terms of topics and subject matter and so forth. So I'll put out a little bit of a trigger warning, because the game puts out a trigger warning as well. The game deals with a lot of themes of like self-harm and depression and even like suicide and so forth.
Death.
And death. And it being a Japanese game from the early 2000s maybe doesn't handle it in the best way. I don't know. I'm not that far.
They
but
do.
A lot of people seem to really like it. But it was before like ideas of mental health were super widespread and so forth. So it works a little differently. And so it's just worth saying that, like, hey, if those things bother you, this game's probably not for you, because it gets a little tough. Now, diving into that, this is your chance to click off if you don't want to hear about it. I mean, you activate your persona by shooting yourself in the head.
Yeah,
so,
you do.
it goes there and so forth. And I'm sure there's more. And the early story things is that, hey, man, people are getting depressed and hurting themselves. And we don't know why. And I assume that's the main crux of, like, all right, there's this like stink of depression hitting the town, and we have to solve whatever ultimate evil. It's gonna be your friends fighting God with the power of friendship type thing.
Subtext, you might say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's gonna be a reason for this depression hitting and whatever. But I'm just waiting for that to take effect. I'm sitting here and I'm waiting for me to be able to dive in and talk to these friends and so forth. And they keep going like, oh yeah, you hang out with this person, right? And I go, I don't know, do I? Because we've had a couple of conversations, but that social link isn't even activated. So I have not formed a bond with that character.
Around 35 hours into it, you start being able to really hang out with the people at your dorm.
Way too much.
I know, way too much. But each time you do, it feels like there's a purpose to it beyond just increasing your social stance.
Well, yeah, they
burn
damn near a third of their game, so it better start picking up the pace.
It does, and it does so extremely well.
That is one thing, though, I do like in comparison to 5, is that they've introduced the cast for the most part. Like, I'm sure there's going to be some more characters who file in and join the party and so forth that I don't know yet, but the core cast is already here.
And I have 2 points to piggyback off of from that. First of all, there is no mascot character in this fucking game.
Oh,
there is no goddamn dumb Teddy. Yeah, he's stupid.
No, Teddy's
no Morgana.
Great. Morgana sucks.
Yeah, Morgana does suck. And Teddy does too.
Teddy's awesome.
And Teddy sucks as well.
No, Teddy's the
I
best.
have consumed many anime. And I can say with certainty, there's almost no such thing as a good mascot character. Phil
in the peanut gallery's got one in his head.
Almost. There's a couple exceptions. A couple of exceptions.
We're not on that one, but we can be.
Yeah, poke down your head, huh?
There he is. He's here.
You spoiled the magic.
Yeah,
you saw the thing over the...
We're watching Advent Children later, so Phil's here.
Yeah.
It's a layer on top of it. It happens every time we reach across. So,
But there's a tendency in the Persona game that I played of everything being centered around the protagonist. But there's tons of scenes where other characters are interacting with one another. Some events take place before the story officially begins, and it delves into that by showing the dynamic between multiple characters.
I like that.
I won't spoil anything. But that in combination with being able to actually feel like you're spending time with your friends and learning more about them just through casual conversations, not your general, because sometimes it'll randomly say, hey, you can go meet up with your friend, and that's their official story. But then they'll also have, activities you can do at the dorm, watching movies, reading books together, cooking together, or making tea together, taking care of the plants that are up on the rooftop. And you kind of get into the more subtleties of those characters that aren't explored through the main plot. And sometimes you get into the, overall character arc of these party members. Because sometimes I'll do some, random hangout with so-and-so person. Won't spoil it. And then all of a sudden, I'm in a scene where I'm like, was this supposed to be given to me in the game naturally because it's so important to these characters' relationships? Or am I just finding this because I decided to hang out with this guy? And that's a pretty cool thing for a game to do, especially when Persona, being Persona, can kind of become stale in that regard, and you're kind of just hammering away at nails. If I want to get this guy's social link up and become better friends with him and suck his dick or whatever.
Jesus
I don't
Christ.
know. Whatever you think you're going to strive for.
To your point, when you, the joys of Persona is yes, you are doing the same things in every game and so forth. But the joy of it is the writing and is the characters and and the style of each individual game and so forth. So each game has its own unique identity, but a Persona game is a Persona game.
And there are certain characters in the game who have just very fun dialogue. One of them is a character named Aigis. She's a robot. She's a mascot character. There's also a dog. Mascot character who do not perform
it's just
the
a
same.
dog.
Yeah, exactly. They don't perform like mascot characters, but
a
they
dog
easily could be
4.
like that. Yeah.
I think it might be a fox. It's like a fox. Yeah, just he hangs out and he gives you items sometimes.
Oh, the dog's a party member.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, dude.
Cool.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
So Connor, what if it was a sentient talking cartoon bear?
We're already dealing with some dark subject matter with the themes. So, do you guys know of that video that came out of
I think
the Vietnam
video?
I
don't know where this is going. And I don't want to know.
The Vietnam War. It's that horrible photo, a war crime of a. I think it's a. Southern
you're
Vietnamese
talking the meme with the dude who's with the 1,000-yard stare type thing.
Who's about to get shot.
I don't know what you're talking
There's
about.
a Southern Vietnamese officer who's about to shoot a guy, commit a war crime. That's what I do to Teddy. Fuck him. Shut up. Don't bring him up again. He's not like Aigis, who has funny, quirky dialogue and isn't just a horned dog.
This is the most edge that has ever come out of Connor
on this podcast.
On the mic, and this is wild.
Yeah.
So
the point is, there's some dialogue that makes you laugh, or I rather should say chuckle. The line reading of some of these characters is very good. There is not a single bad voice performance. And Persona has a really good track record of just having great voice actors giving it their all. And this is no exception. I have my own personal issues with anime-style stuff being adapted into English. Sometimes it can come across as cringy or not that great. Never with Persona. It always sounds just very good. There's some bits and pieces, but never overall complaints.
It rides the line.
Rides the line?
It rides the line.
Sometimes. With the random bits of dialogue that you sometimes discuss when you're going through Tartarus.
There's definitely examples. I'm trying to think in 5. I don't know if I have as many examples in 5, but in 4, early Chie stuff, even though I think Chie's best girl, early Chie stuff, she's a little whiny and so forth. But anyways, 3. I mean, I'm enjoying the characters I've experienced so far. But to me, it's the what are you doing over here? Helldivers. He's showing me a Helldivers meme. All right.
What is it?
They're calling in. It's a charger. Oh my God, that was intense. Okay. Well,
thank you, Phil.
Cool. Thanks for that. Characters. I like the characters that have been introduced so far. I'm kind of with you. The music is fine. The music's really good, especially for what a Persona game is. It's catchy. There's earworms. It's nice to listen to. But I've yet to hear a track that I'm like, ooh, add that to the playlist. There's no reach out to the truth. There's no Last Surprise. There's no Rivers in the Desert type thing. Like I haven't had Beneath the Mask. I haven't had anything like that yet. But there's been nice listenable tracks. And even though I'm a hip hop head, I don't like the rapping in this. It's the most generic white man rap ever, where it's just we're just rhyming words. All right, cool, whatever. We're just fitting a vibe. It's just vibe raps in a bad way.
That's
so,
fun. I'm all vibes in music.
It sounds good, but it's just there's no substance there. So
the opening movie song is good.
I agree.
Yeah. But I want to touch on it again real quick. The combat, it's pretty amazing that it can go so long without getting boring, because you are just going long stretches of corridors and hallways and whatnot.
This is my thing
Dodging
about
enemies
it.
and whatnot.
I like procedural generated more than the handcrafted stuff in 5.
I'm now do think so as well.
Yeah. It's just a vibe to it where you can kind of like zone out and throw in a podcast, listen to music, or just like enjoy just the gameplay loop
Yes.
of the game itself and so forth. Like I just think it allows you to just kind of like enter like gamer mode like type thing. Like in Hades when you're just kind of zoning out and you're just like in the zone like type things. You can't really do that in P5 because it's like, all right, this floor is a puzzle. Now solve this puzzle. The puzzle's not very good, but you got to solve it. And it kills replayability. Whereas in 3 and in 4, and Mementos is still in there. So I like Mementos in 5. I know a lot of people were like, ugh, Mementos. I like it because that's the experience of Persona that I enjoy. And so like in 3 and in 4, like I think I did think about it. Like it was more of a conversation in 4 versus 5, but now that I'm getting that experience again in 3, I'm like, oh no, definitively the procedural generated stuff is just, it's more fun. And I am curious if the locations are going to get kind of stale because I would assume it doesn't have much variety as you rise up in the floors. Whereas like at least in 4, it was like, this is a sauna-based level. This is a video game-based level. This is a dominatrix-based level.
It's not so theme heavy, but it does. The layouts change completely, and that's the kind of the thing comparing it to Persona 5's pre-generated palettes.
They're at least like different colors, like different color palettes. All right.
Yeah, exactly. That's somewhat slightly different color palettes. Yeah, but I never go into a new zone because it's split into zones and think I gotta go through this zone. But I did with Persona 5's palaces. I would think, oh, this one's not that great, and yet I'm stuck to it because of the specific way you traverse through it. You never have that issue here. And so it allows you really to just zone out. I mean, I played it.
And I assume they do the thing that they do in 4, where every once in a while you'll enter a level that has a gimmick.
Oh, there's tons of gimmicks.
Yeah, gimmicks.
See, I'll explain some real quick. One of the ones I just encountered, it was new, and I was surprised, is it makes almost the entire area dark. And yeah, they did that in 4.
Yep.
Where you go up to enemies and they can't really see you as well, but all of the items you can get are something called Twilight Fragments, which are like a special currency in the game. Yeah. And so it's the opportunity to get a lot of that. There are some levels where you find the elusive hand enemy that can give you a lot of XP, money,
Gotta
whatever.
get those hands, man.
You always have to get those hands. Or you have certain shadows that have status ailments already afflicted to them while they're going throughout the world, such as anger, for example. Yeah. And they'll all of a sudden do a strong, fast beeline to you that can't maneuver all that well, but if it gets you, it gets you.
You're in trouble.
Yeah,
You're in trouble. And then I assume there's ones where it's like this floor is a maze, and if you walk to the end of a hallway, you'll get teleported to a different part of that maze. And
I hadn't gotten that.
Maybe it'll happen later or something. Yeah, in 4 they got really creative with it, but it still kept that same vibe. Like it's just a vibe that I just prefer.
Yeah, I agree, and it kind of has elements like that. First of all, you have the monad doors, which are just like particularly strong optional bosses that can then lead into special upgrade material. And they're dotted throughout the level, and so it's always a nice break of, oh, I get to fight hard bosses. And then there's other ones that are called like monad passageways or something like that, which is kind of like a chain of 3 bosses that you have to go through. And the monad doors, they are randomly generated, and then if you leave the game, leave Tartarus for one night and come back, it'll be gone. Yeah. The paths just stay there, so you can kind of do a progress thing, which once again, on normal, I was able to go through the entire thing, no real troubles.
I also like that they break it up every 5 levels means something. Here's a little mini boss or whatever. Mm-hmm. Not complicated at all. I'm sure at some point it will get complicated. There's sometimes it's the story-based bosses that are, oh my God, scary. And then sometimes it's the, this is random boss in the middle of the level that I'm like, this is a power check, and I don't know why he's here. He's kicking my ass.
He has no weaknesses. I can't take advantage of them. There's also clocks, giant clocks, which allow you to, because you have your party that you choose, and they don't level up alongside whoever you the people who you don't have in the party don't level up alongside the people you do have in the party.
Really?
They don't. But the way they kind of circumvent that is that sometimes you'll find these giant clocks. And when you go into these giant clocks, it'll give you the option of choosing 2 party members. And it'll say, the next battle they do, just single battle, they'll increase by 6 levels. They'll increase by 4 levels, 3 levels, sometimes just 1 level. But it's a way. And
So are you like you're like selecting the 2 party members? Are you then like bouncing out?
Yes.
To the lobby and then going back?
Yes.
Okay.
To change out as you see
change
fit.
parties out. I like that.
Yeah.
That's a good because I think Persona 5 is too easy in that because all your party members level up at the same time.
Yeah.
Or level up regardless if they're not. But also like not having them level up makes them useless. Like, and you can't ever experiment with mechanics like you want to.
But see, that's the thing about the game, because if you do go through long stretches of the game, of the Tartarus, just to get through it, sometimes you have to change out party members who are running low on SP, which is how you do all your magic abilities, and maybe you don't have the random items to increase that, and so you have to swap out for other party members. You have to take advantage of those weaknesses, and certain party members have their element that they have, so you got to switch those out, because generally floors will have 1 or 2 elements that are more commonly used than others. And so
It's heavy on the ice and the wind in the early levels.
yes,
Yeah.
it definitely is. And so this allows you to need to swap out these characters, and so they are leveling up at a reasonable pace alongside you, along with those clocks. Make it to where, you pretty much have access to your entire party whenever you want, and none of them are really going to be substantially under-leveled. And if they are, you have the other guys to pick up the slack. Your main character as well.
Yeah. So, Connor, to close this out, first of all, you'd recommend the game?
Highly.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, what I've experienced, it's great. It's just I feel like I've done it before.
Here's what I recommend you do.
Yeah.
Each game has an intro. It's cinematic, It doesn't go into how the game operates, but it does kind of establish this kind of vibe the game has. So I recommend going on YouTube, if you've never played a Persona game, going on YouTube, watching them, and whichever one catches your interest the most.
It's basically just what color do you like the most?
Literally. I mean, hey, that also could factor into it. What kind of
a lot of blue, a lot of yellow, or a lot of red? Which one do you want?
Exactly. And, you go listen to that to give yourself a sense of whether you would like it or not. For those of you that like turn-based games and you're looking to play the next new game, this is a great turn-based game. Its strengths don't lie in its turn-based mechanics. It lies elsewhere, but you'll still get a lot of, fun and enjoyment out of that side of the game as well.
Maybe wait on P4 because they're probably going to remake P4.
They probably are.
Next 5 years or so.
It'd be very nice if they do.
I want it.
Yeah. Of course.
Just give it a visual upgrade. Give it that UI style of this one in 5 and so forth.
Yeah.
But keep that same structure. I'm into it. But to close this out, Connor.
Yeah.
We've hit this theme of like, all right, well, Persona's kind of like run its course on its formula here.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think they should, and how would they, if you do you think they should alter this formula in any way?
So I was thinking that while I was playing the game.
Yeah.
Because I was enjoying it, but I was like, well, Persona 6 will happen eventually.
Yeah.
What are they going to do?
I imagine P6 will probably be announced within the next
2 years, possibly?
2 years, probably 1 year, maybe even.
Yeah. That seems reasonable.
Yeah.
My estimation of what they should do is focus a little bit less on barriers to make you enjoy the characters, whether that's in the form of your social stats, which,
I don't think 4 and 5 had this problem.
No? I feel like they did.
I don't think so.
5 especially did because I played on hard and I didn't get all of the stories of my party members.
Stop playing games on hard.
I will not. But once again, that's the problem. I shouldn't have to trade in all of these great story and character moments just because I wanted to delve deeper into the
But
combat system of hard.
those mechanics are still there. They're just in the boss fights.
Yeah, but they're also,
You want every fight to be a boss fight?
No, but it's not that intense all the time. But it definitely provides more thought rather than just like monotone, I'm going to do this thing because I've been conditioned to do it this entire level. Overall, I do think they should just lower the limits of barriers to get those other, character social links up.
I don't think they need a gameplay modify it. I think they need, to me, I think the high school thing has run its course. Mm-hmm. I think we should move a level up. Let's grow up a little bit, Persona. Like whether that means a university type thing. I don't know how college level education works in Japan. Whether it means like we move on to college or early workforce type stuff. And we start telling stories in that medium and so forth. Because like the high school thing is charming,
yeah.
But you still make social links to apply it to real life. Like you still have like social links in different social groups that you find throughout your life outside of high school. And like, yeah, it's a great way to have the characters in the same place every day, but there's no reason it can't be coworkers. There's no reason it can't be, your neighbors or something, living in an apartment building.
That makes sense. But to that end, you also have to think of target demographic because younger people play Persona games, and it takes place in high school. We have a lot of games that don't take place in high school that are more mature, that take place in the adult world.
I'd also like a little more maturity in these games, personally.
Sure.
I
think Persona 3 has that when you start delving more into the story.
I think they go there in terms of content, but I would like the characters to, I don't want to be a teenager anymore, personally. It was fun the first few times, and it's still fun now to go there and have that type of thing. But, like, what does Persona look like if I engage in a actual romantic relationship with a character earlier?
Yeah, that's true.
And have an opportunity to actually explore that. What does that look like? How can Persona evolve from here? I think that's how you do it with how you interact socially versus. I disagree with you. I think the gameplay's fine. Like I think the pace of balance with social links versus building up your persona, like I think it works and it's fine. It's got its levels of difficulty to it. If you want to dive deeper into those mechanics, do it on a second playthrough. Do it on a New Game Plus. Because that's what I did with 5. My first playthrough, I didn't get the true ending. But I maxed out a lot of my stats, and then I hit that New Game Plus, turned it up to hard, had a more difficult time with it, and that was satisfying to me. But I also didn't have to worry about all my social links as much. So I think there's value in replayability.
Yeah, I'm fine with either direction because it would be new, fresh thing to do.
Yeah,
but at the same time, I feel like you could change around some of the gameplay mechanics and day-to-day activities that you take part in to freshen it up, since those really do seem to be the same from Persona 3 to Persona 5.
Yeah. Persona is Persona. But this is still a great Persona.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. It's some people's favorites.
They'll always be someone's favorite Persona.
There's always the thing of, like, the first one you play is always your favorite. And the real litmus test here, I think, is Phil. Because you started with 5, I started with 4, and then Phil hasn't played a Persona. So I'm curious what happens if we throw 3 at him, and then we all play the 3 games and see how it all turns out. Because so far, as of right now, 3 is my least favorite, but I could see it rising above 5. I do not see it rising above 4.
Last point, I used to think that way about whichever one you played first. I really do think it's just vibe-based at this point, more so than whatever you played first. I think that'll grab you more than your first Persona game.
But I think that's also just, that it establishes what Persona means to you, as opposed to, like, Persona to you means Phantom Thieves, espionage, fighting corruption. Persona to me means joy, friends, Junette. Yeah, Persona 4 has beach arcs. Like multiple beach arcs. And I love that. That's what Persona is to me. When I played 5 and there is none of that, I went, where the hell is my beach arc?
There's the Hawaii trip.
Oh, shit, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
that one's great.
That also feeds into my critique of 5 is, like, some of those characters get introduced way too late in the narrative. Like Haru. Who the fuck cares about Haru? Whereas in 4 and in 3, here's all your characters right now.
Yeah.
So, anyways. You
give and take.
Give and take. Pros and cons to each, but overall, great franchise, great game. Go play it. I will. I'm gonna keep playing it.
I'm beating it. No ifs, ands, or buts.
I'm gonna put it down for Rebirth, but
I'm gonna put it down for a bit now.
Yeah.
I've been in the mind.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is gonna be it for your 2 Penny Games review of Persona 3 Reload. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Oh, there he go.
Before we stop.
Into the mic.
Sorry, before we stop. Did y'all I know this is at the end of the 2 Penny Games cast. Did y'all talk about Skull and Bones at all?
No.
Can I read this thing from IGN real quick?
Sure.
The number of people buying Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag has risen 200% on Steam after the release of Ubisoft's Skull and Bones.
That's fucking funny.
You guys don't need to play Skull and Bones.
No, you don't. Until next time, have a great time. Connor, say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye.